as you continue expanding your program, you're going to notice that we're going to start having lots of functions here and things can start getting confusing. And so what can be helpful is at the start of your program to include a long, like basically just like a list of all the functions, okay? And so the way that we can do that is by creating a multi-line comment. So a multi-line comment starts with this and ends with this, okay? So we've created this multi-line comment, so anything between here is a comment. And so we can make a list of functions. We have a forward function, okay, where you input a distance, okay, and you could say this allows you to input a distance forward in millimeters. Okay, you can continue for backward and so on, and you should really start, as you build a function, you should list them up here. Okay, so you should start building a list of all your functions that you built. And the reason I'm mentioning this now is because you're going to start building some new functions. We've built kind of control functions for controlling it, and now we're going to start building functions for drawing shapes. So the first one I think you're going to do is either a triangle or a square, and for this function you're going to input a distance, and so this function draws a square given a side length input in millimeters. So what you're going to do here is you'll build a function where it takes an input that represents how long you want the sides to be, and it will draw a square with sides of that length. Okay, and so you'll put that square, you can put after the calibrate if you want, and same with the triangle and all that. So you can use void square, and then you could say float distance, and then you could build a function to draw that square. Okay, so that's where you're going to start, and then once you finish it, you could test it out and you can move on to the next one. So you have kind of a list of these functions that you call on, and then maybe you'll have something where you want to build a square and some other things. The other thing you do to kind of organize stuff is you can collapse the functions on the side here. If you're done editing it and you're not working with it, this can save you some space as well and just clean up some of the mess, because things are going to start getting pretty messy as we add more functions. Okay, and so here we've got these functions listed, and they're organized a little bit so that we don't have to be, we don't have to see every part of every function every time we scroll through our program. Okay, and later we're actually going to put our functions in a separate document so we don't even have to see them anymore. Okay, and I'll explain that in a video down the road. So I want to just come back and add something else. So I'm adding this to the end of this square video because I just want to clarify something. So about functions and the difference between global and local variables. So there's a set of variables here that are global variables, and so any function can use these. They can be used anywhere and they'll always be there. When you create a function, or when you create a variable inside of a function, it's a local variable. So this function, distance to steps, has two local variables: step count, which we defined right here, and distance, when we define right here. Okay, and this variable distance only applies to the word distance in this function here. Okay, in this forward function we have two local variables. Actually we have three. We have distance, step count, and the value x that we declared right here to use as a counter. Okay, and so these are local variables, which means that when we're done using this function, they get deleted from the program, or they get erased. Okay, and so this value distance here in the backward function, or this value angle here in the left function, is a variable that we're using to store the value we pass. So if we, in the setup function, call the function left 90 like that, then we're sending this number 90 to the left function, and so when the left function gets called, it's going to store the value 90 into the variable angle. And so angle is used right here, and it represents 90 because that's what we sent to the function. And so if we're building a function to draw a square, okay, it's going to say we want the square to have sides of 100 millimeters or 10 centimeters. Then what's going to happen is when that square function gets called, I don't think I have it on, I don't think I saved it. Let me bring it up real quick. When the square function gets called, we need to take that value that we sent, the length of the sides, and we're going to set that here as, sorry, not void. We could set it as an integer, probably a distance, or sorry, a float really, because it's can have like a fraction of a millimeter. So float distance, and now this variable distance here represents how far you want it to go for each side. Okay, I hope that makes sense and that was clear to you. Okay, so whenever you're building a function, what this means is this is what you're sending. Sometimes later, well, I'll do this the next one in the next video, so we'll stop there.